All right, so I was on the book this weekend. I was trying to do a bunch of different type of videos and have other conversations, and I was working on setting those up. And then our favorite half black feminist, Melissa Harris, two last names Perry, came across my feed, and she's at some women's uh, forum or whatever, standard feminist nonsense. And the conversation is about redefining masculinity, which was amazing to me, being that it's a room full of women. Now, just off the bat, you already know, like, I don't think women should be a part of any discussion in defining manhood or masculinity. Like, they have no place to be involved in it. But could you imagine that there was like a summit or a conversation about redefining womanhood with a room full of men? You know how outraged the feminists would be if that even existed. We already know that would happen, but whatever. But anyways, in this process, right? So before we even get started, it's like, black men, we get accused of not protecting or defending black women. On one hand, we're told that saying hi and telling them they're beautiful, saying a smile, that's oppressive and offensive. Which we know all that really is if she's not attracted to you, that's how she's gonna redefine it. But if she is, she'll respond to it. But we're told, we're too aggressive in that area. And then on the other hand, we're told that we don't approach them whenever they see them approaching other women who of other races who aren't cunts. I mean, aren't they have no problem with getting compliments, and they understand when a person is giving a nice gesture or whatever. But that's the other time. It's like we're told women that when we don't speak to them, we don't go out of our way to go see them, and we might do that for other women. They feel some type of way about that too. Then they talked about how being in the videos was is, how do they say it, in the rap videos and all that, it's degrading to women or what have you. So right, so then all the black women are out of the music videos and rap videos nowadays, and they're replaced with biracial chicks and women of other Spanish chicks, and now they feel some type of way because those women are getting the attention and the accolades because their beauty is being displayed. So it's like boom, right? But anyways, we get told that we don't protect them and we're not capable for them. But in this conversation right here, we're being criticized or demonized, or at least, the black men in this conversation are. I think she alluded to Maya Angelou's situation where she talked about she was raped at 8 years old, and Maya Angelou's uncles went out and I think they killed the men, whoever did that to him. And somehow this conversation has turned into, men are too violent. They don't own the women in their lives, or they don't belong to them. Like, she just went straight out ape shit feminist. Like, I love my husband, but I am not his, and he is not mine. I love my father, and I'm like, well, that's good for you, right? But there are plenty of women who do believe in those things and do expect their fathers to protect them, their uncles and their brothers to protect them, right? I don't know. It's just crazy. Like, when you think it can't get off the wall more than this, it just goes even deeper. It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You don't do something, you ignore me, giving you space, then there's criticisms. If you go elsewhere and give other women type of attention that they feel they deserve, is a problematic. You know, don't tell them not to drink. Don't tell them to not be stupid and be in situations that they shouldn't be in, and places they shouldn't be in. And now you know, before you defend their honor, if something bad happens to them, and it's like, and then women, I look on Facebook, they're complaining about men not doing this and not doing that, and not valuing them, and not opening doors, and not giving them chairs. I'm like, but do you ever question women like this? Do you ever go to feminists and say, you need to calm down with all that nonsense? I want my brother, my uncles, my dad, to protect me. It's like they don't do that. All they do is, come at the result of this post-feminist world. Like, stuff has changed. And the more rhetoric you hear like this, you'll have men like the men in my video, the type of men that feminists create. You'll have dudes who don't, they view you, they buy into the BS notion of equality, and they're treating you like that. and then when you get treated equal, now you feel some type of way. It's like now you want to choose where you get your special treatments or whatnot. Like you want to dibble and dabble and test in it, and then when it's too hot, like no, all right, man, go ahead, you can do that. We'll find something else we want to dominate in. But I don't know. That's just my rant though. Like the women are clapping and applauding and demonizing Maya Angelou's uncles. Granted, she said she felt some type of way because they took the life. She was 8 years old. Of course, the kids are gonna feel that way. Of course, the kid could have had guilt, whatever. What do you call it? Stockholm syndrome, and felt for her attacker. All that's possible, but yet, I think her uncles did the right thing. They handled the business. They let it be known in their environment that that's not acceptable behavior, and they took the life of the man who harmed a child. I think they did a great job. But now we got feminists telling us how to defend the women in our lives and how not to. That's crazy.
Distinct at the moment closest to it, and then that effect should become less as time goes on. And so one of the things that we know that happens immediately after the period of enslavement is one of the first things that people do in the context of freedom is to go find their spouses. So I think there is very little evidence that the system of enslavement actually has a destructive capacity on household creation, on heterosexual marriage, and on love bonds, because everything we see the freedmen do immediately after is all about the formation of families. It's the first thing many of them don't go look for. And in the context of slavery, there are women and men who sell themselves into slavery in order to be, I mean, just the shit we did for marriage.
I disagree with that point she just made. She said we did crazy shit for marriage. I don't think being a biracial woman, you can claim we in that conversation. You just can't.
The other thing is, I think there's something very dangerous that happens when we look at the violation of women's bodies, the theft of women's labor, and we say that the primary problem with it was that it emasculated men. So a woman is raped, and the biggest problem is that it creates some sort of feeling for her male spouse. Now, I am not suggesting that the abuse of women's bodies isn't very painful for their beloveds, but it is just as painful for their sisters as it is for their spouses. And so part of the problem is that we end up with this, the scene in Crash where the woman, the wife is digitally raped on screen, but the thing we're supposed to be worried about is not her experience of being violated by this police officer. We're supposed to be worried about her husband's feelings about not being able to protect his woman. So I want to be really careful, because what it leads us to do is to think that the primary problem in the violation and victimization of women's bodies isn't women, it's what it somehow does to men. Now,
I don't know about that. I think most people have critical thinking skills, and when they watch the film, they can see that the author was trying to point to that, make that point, that it does affect the spouse as well. But that wasn't the only point. It did illustrate how she felt too in the end scene where the same white cop who digitally raped her had to protect her, and she did not trust him to do so. So you want to go with the narrative of it's all about him and how he felt, yet when I watch the movie, rape is rape. It doesn't matter how the camera angle was or how the author tried to portray it. It was bad for both of them. Like, her logic doesn't compute at all. I mean, that was the primary point of the scene, right? You have a cop with a gun and a badge, right? Essentially, they're defenseless, right? If it was a regular individual doing this, there's a possibility he could have taken that chance and went for it. But being that he's a cop, there's a way that it could have been justified. His retaliation and shooting him was justified, right? But that was the point of the scene, though. It's, this cop is abusing his authority. He's fondling your woman in front of you and making the point that you can't do nothing to me because I have a badge and a gun. That's the whole point of the scene. That's a different issue, right? That has nothing to do with, the author's trying to make us feel, understand how the husband feels in the situation and not how the woman feels. No, the specific point is I have a gun, I have a badge, you can't do anything about me doing this to your woman, so your ability to protect her is low. And she's saying she understands that his wife don't respond, don't react because he has a gun and he has a badge. So she focused on his well-being because she knew what he wanted to do in that situation.
So a man is only someone who can physically push back, fight back, and protect their women. So what happens in the context of the story of I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, Maya Angelou as a little girl is violated and raped, but that is not why she stopped speaking. She stopped speaking because she tells her uncles. And her uncles go and murder her rapist. And she stopped speaking because she says, I believe that if I spoke, people died. So in this great desire to go out and protect their woman and do this thing and show their manhood, they violate her humanity by making her feel not only like a survivor of this horrifying sexual assault, but they almost take Maya Angelou's voice, not only from her, but from all of us for all of time, because they were all geeked up on their manhood and not worried about what an 8-year-old girl might have needed in that moment that wasn't about the perpetuation of additional violence. So if we continue to talk about the
I don't even know how to comprehend that logic of they were all geeked up on their manhood. This is what, in the 1930s, 40s, whatever? You know, while black men are still being raped and lynched and castrated in front of their women, ripped away from their children. Like, situations like this are still happening, and this is an opportunity for black men. You know, black men didn't even have the luxury of being masculine and, you know, protecting their families. Yet a situation happens where they do, and somehow this negatively affects all women, or you know, like how do they do that? How do they compute that logic? You know, how many women wish they had an uncle or a father that was there to protect them? No, the violent response to protect your woman isn't the only thing that masculinity is or man is, but is a major part of what it is when you have a family. It's your responsibility. Not the only one, but a major one. Out of curiosity, though, I'm wondering, like, where were the women in her life, right? So these men went off and did what they felt they needed to do was right, and they did the right thing. However, you're playing this picture like they should have asked her permission, or they should have, you know, went to her and asked how does she really feel, and, like, they handle business real quick, right? But my question is, wouldn't it be the woman's responsibility in that situation, the mom or the aunts or whoever woman was around her who might have even experienced those things, to explain to her why they had to go, or to explain to her it's not your fault and what they're doing is a good thing to protect you, to make sure nothing like this ever happens to you again? Like, where is the woman's responsibility in this environment? You're trying to blame men for not doing the emotional stuff. They handle the physical aspect, but you're trying to charge them with not handling the emotional stuff. And I'm like, well, where were the women that to do that? Why are you trying to charge the men with that type of a duty? Especially in that environment and in that area, in that era of time.
Women who presumably belong to them because they are part of the same racial group, then we create an international system of violence. Now, I have been thrown out of feminist groups for a wide variety of reasons. But let me also just say this one last thing. It also, man, I love my husband. He's just the best. But I am not his.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, nope. Nor is he mine. He is my beloved, and I am his beloved. But nobody belongs to nobody around here. And my daddy walked me out, but he ain't give me away because I didn't belong to him. And let me just also suggest for a moment the ways in which, for some reason, we just think everybody in the context of slavery was heterosexual. Okay. And I presume that just as now there are same-gender loving men and women who are experiencing all kinds of the creation and building of family, that the same is true in the context of slavery and in Jim Crow and all throughout what will be the future. So just to say, I'm down with you, I hear you, and we're trying to think through all the questions of pain. But that we don't, in the creation of trying to work through that pain, make women less important, make us just tools of manhood, and encourage men to only think about manhood and masculinity as violence.
You know, I remember back when there was a conversation about what happened in the theater, the Batman theater, where the dude shot it all up. And there was a story about a guy in there. We don't know what truly happened, but all we know is apparently he left his child and his at the time his child's mother, and there was a lot of criticism. Well, maybe he took Melissa's advice and he had a discussion before everything went down, and she wanted to be treated like an equal, like a human being, and he didn't have to be have the hero complex or whatever, or lay down his life for his girl. He treated her as an equal, and he bounced, and he just left her and the kid and said, "You fend for yourself." Is that what you want, Melissa? I mean, I don't know.
You gotta tell, Maya. You gotta tell who did this to you, or the man will hurt another little girl. I won't leave till you tell.
I can't.
Why can't you?
If I tell, he'll kill you.
Me? He can't kill me. I won't let him. Did I ever lie to you, Maya? Huh? Answer me that. Did I ever lie to you? Hey, you know I don't lie to you. He won't kill me. No, he won't. He won't kill me.
It was Mr. Freeman.
Billy.
First thing the judge said was, you're better off in jail than out on the streets where decent people can get at you. But he still suspended the sentence. The hearing didn't even last 15 minutes. I knew they shouldn't have let Freeman out, not in this neighborhood. He was a sitting duck. He was just found on a lot behind the slaughterhouse.
Yes, hurt bad?
He's dead.
Poor Freeman. Do they know who did it?
They think it was more than one. Some say he was kicked to death.
Well, Phil, thanks for telling me. Poor man, poor Freeman. Well, maybe it's better this way. He was a mad dog. Would you like some lemonade or beer?
No, thanks, man. I'd best be getting on. Just wanted to let you know.
Well, glad you did. Give my best to your mom. Thank you, Phil. Maya and Junior, you didn't hear a thing, understand? I never want to hear about this situation again. And I never want to hear that evil man's name in this house again. Do you understand? Now sit down at the table with your uncles and I'll give you some apple strudel.